Welcome back. As we observe National Water Month, the government is hosting a National Water and Sanitation Indaba. The important gathering is taking place against the backdrop of growing concerns about water security and the vital need for reliable water and sanitation services for every single citizen. The Deputy Minister for Water and Sanitation, David Mahlobo, joins us to have that conversation ahead of the Indaba. Deputy Minister, very good morning to you. Thank you so much for making time for us. Before we speak about the Indaba, considering that we're observing Water Month, how would you describe South Africa's water crisis?
Thank you very much, Adrian, and to your viewers. What we need to appreciate is that South Africa, over the last 8 years, we've done well in terms of provision of access to water to millions that were denied, including the benefits. But however, over the last few years, we've reached a stage where we can regard as a country that we have a water crisis in the main in terms of the reliability of supply of services to all. Because when you read the statistics, they will say that people have access to water for about 90%. But the reality is that the availability of that water on daily basis, it has sharply declined to around 68%, which is a national average. In other words, there are communities that goes without water for days, for months, let alone those communities that are unserved, the 10% who don't even have an infrastructure. Therefore, this Indaba must address the question to say, how do we improve issues of reliability to those that have infrastructure and improve access to those that don't have it? Equally, municipalities, including metros, they are actually on the brink of collapse, and others have collapsed. You lose a lot of water, on average about 48%. Others, they are running as high as 72%. Other metros are running as high as 52, 62%. It's a crisis because it means if a lot of water gets illegally connected, water gets lost on the ground, the issues of people of a black market, it means more than 52% of the water is actually getting lost. And it's a revenue that these municipalities are requiring that we need to be able to do. Hence, the decision by His Excellency the President to say to the Minister of Water in our country, we are prioritizing water as a priority number one because it has an impact on human rights, but it also has an impact on economic activities like food security, weather energy provision, and including the impact on the environment, because South Africans, in terms of our human activity, we have polluted our rivers, that the quality of water is so deteriorated that it impacts on the biodiversity. It will cause the cost of treatment to be at the highest, but it will also expose South Africans in a 21st century to waterborne diseases that should not be an issue of consideration at this time.
Yeah. Has Deputy Minister or even the department at all received complaints that there are some companies that no longer want to invest in the country or disinvesting in the country because of the water situation? And just quickly, an anecdote. I had a conversation with an ambassador from a European country who said that while South Africa is trying to deal with this issue around electricity provision, one of the biggest issues that they're currently seeing from companies coming from from his country is the issue of water. And now they're looking at other SADC nations where they can go and set up shop and their headquarters as well.
We do have an incident of a company that I will not mention yet so that we don't advertise them. They were in the Northwest. They were very displeased about the issues of availability of water, linked with the issue of the availability of electricity. They needed to move their issues of operations to KwaZulu-Natal. Another company I interacted wanted to move from KZN, especially in eThekwini, because there was no guarantee around the issues of assurance of supply. They wanted to move to Cape Town. Another big company that they are partners, they will be part of our Indaba. They are actually in Polokwane as we speak right now. Electricity goes down, the water provision is not there, because the correlationship, Adrian, between water and electricity, there's that particular nexus. you have to stabilize the two because it has an impact. South Africa is one of the biggest exporter of our goods when it comes to issues of agricultural productions. And they are actually well liked, whether is it wine, whether is it our beef, all these other things, the citrus that we send. They are actually issues of World Trade Organization around health and hygiene issues that we must meet certain standards. If our drop reports are indicating that in terms of microbial and in terms of chemical composition, a number of our municipalities, close to 105 out of the 144 water services authorities, the water is not fit in terms of our SANS 241 standard, it becomes a problem. But at the very same time, major centers where the economy must grow, water cannot become an impediment, where certain industries and businesses, whether small or big, they will go for days or hours without having a guarantee to have water. Therefore, this Indaba must respond to this question. What are the concrete actions? How these municipalities were going to actually assist and intervene that the delivery model can't continue to be the same. We have to change course. But the other aspect, which is the biggest issue, is their ability to finance their operations, because the issues of the backlogs, just to deal with the current backlogs, it will require close to R1 trillion just to deal with infrastructure challenges, let alone the growth that must happen so that economy can be energized. Then the issues of technical capabilities of municipalities and the professional that work in the sector. President wants us to harness the expertise of all South Africans and institutions so that those who work there, they are fit for purpose, they have the know-how and the tools of trade so that we can be able to turn the corner around.
Yeah, and for some people, they have to rely on taking water from natural resources like wells as well as rivers. But then we also have another challenge, and that is with the contamination coming from mining companies. Have you had conversations with your counterparts, whether it is in the Department of Environmental Affairs or even mining, to say that how do we hold the mining companies accountable for the contamination of this water, while provision is still being made to ensure that there's clean, drinkable water for some communities and some villages?
There are two aspects, Adrian, on the matter. There's a matter of law that pollution must never be allowed to happen. Where it happens, the polluters must be able to pay. Prosecution and cases are being taken to court. But from a policy point of view, industrial pollution that is happening, in the main, Cabinet has adopted a policy working with the Minerals Council around the issues of water pollution caused by industries and mines. And the biggest intervention called water reclamation, the treatment of acid mine drainage, is the biggest program that TCT is doing. But there are some of these mines that you know that they are old because the economy was built on the backbone of mining. They are derelict mine, ownerless mine, where there's a lot of seepages that is happening, affecting a lot of communities. And government, we cannot be in a position to trace those mines. But these mines that are there, in terms of the new water quality policy that is being considered by government, a collaborative effort with Department of Mineral Resources and Energy and Petroleum Resources, and then the issues of forestry, fisheries, and environment. We are looking at that. That's one issue which is more about enforcement and prevention. But where the damage has been done, there is an issue called remedial actions. In the remedial action, we're implementing the issues of return flows, where, for an example, we wanted to actually have a circular economy where we can more of the wastewater that can be actually be treated to a particular standard. You don't actually discharge the sludge. It's therefore you can be able to use for other industrial uses. We are actually dealing with the Harties, the Val Dam. You remember the problems that are there, working with the institutions of higher learning and private sector, so that we can bring these water system into pristine conditions. But more importantly, we must engage with citizens and civil society, their responsibility and behavior around the issues of pollution, because these pollutions in the main are caused by the behavior of citizens. That must be in a position that we change it through either enforcement, either civic education, and other mechanisms that we need to do.
Yeah, and some of these challenges, including the provision of water and the poor infrastructures, also led to an opportunity for business people, especially the water tankers, and we know about the so-called water mafias as well. The city of eThekwini has decided that it will stop outsourcing water tankers and rather insource and procure their own water tankers. Is that the route that should be followed by municipalities?
Our policy as a national department led by Comrade Kemi Majodino, we don't like water tankering to be a permanent feature, Adrian. It must be used as a short-term intervention in an instance where water has been disrupted. We want all South Africans, irrespective of race and gender, to receive water from the tap. And it's the right thing to do because municipalities themselves are going to be getting revenue out of selling of that water, including equitable share for indigent in terms of free basic services. We'll encourage them that this temporary measure must be insourced because it has been exploited by both officials in the municipalities and politicians working with the scrupulous elements in this tankering industry. The other matter that we must deal with is the question of the 10% facilitators of invoices. You find an invoice is not being paid because 10% has not been given. Then there are these ones who are claiming to be business people who are demanding 30%, even killing people in the water sector. You remember the issue of the people that were killed at eThekwini, at Randwater. We cannot actually become a crime scene. That's why we agreed with Minister that with the SIU and the law enforcement agencies, we too are establishing a water and sanitation anti-corruption forum so that we can be able to nip these issues that undermine the provision of water services, including the black market. Those who are illegally connecting, Adrian, they're stealing water, they must stop. While municipalities are giving them water in a provisional way, there are those people who are actually in the black market. It's the biggest thing. We can't afford where black market and people are actually buying more bottled water while there are municipalities that must be functioning. Hence, this Indaba, we can't be missing our weights. All those who are going to be convening there, time for intervention is now, while these municipalities must be allowed an opportunity to build their capacity over a period of time, but citizens can't be inconvenienced further.
Thank you so much for your time. Deputy Minister for Water and Sanitation there, David Mahlobo, ahead of the National Water and Sanitation Indaba that will be taking place tomorrow until Friday. That's taking place right here in Gauteng.